Something that I found out about myself and about trauma, there's this invisible thing, and it's really hard to comprehend and wrap your head around unless you actually experience it. And I was even ignorant to it, and I started to identify something that is very difficult to identify in myself and in anybody. Um, and that's a lot of the reason why there's a lot of stigma. Um, I have a hard time letting go of the past, and I'll tell you why that is. This is what I learned. This is what I figured out because my intent is pure, and I've been on this chase. I've been on this mission to somehow obtain a good life because the first half of my life was really bad, and the only thing that kept me alive and kept me going was the thought of having a good life, having a happy, fulfilled, healthy life with good people, doing meaningful, purposeful things with my life and what I've been through in my life, flipping the negative and turning it into a positive in my life, because you only have two options. It's either you let it defeat you or you let it build you up, and sometimes you need to be broken to be rebuilt. But this is what I learned. Trauma. Letting go of the past. Look at yourself like a battery, like your phone, right? 100%, 90%, 80%, 50%. You would think that the human being obviously is infinite, right? I mean, you can take a lot and you can bounce back. You can be shot with a gun and live from it and recover and still live a healthy, fulfilling life. People have. And but the thing about trauma and internal damage, emotional, spiritual, internal damage that you can't see, you actually have a limited amount of space for damage until you're depleted completely. And this battery in this way is almost impossible to recharge. I'm almost convinced that it is impossible to recharge, and this is the only battery that you have that can't be recharged. So you have to limit the amount of damage that you consume through trauma. And usually trauma is out of our control, and things happen outside of our control sometimes that create trauma for us that we take a lifetime to heal from, if not never heal from. And it actually forms our character and our personality and who we are. That trauma can do that. And what I learned is I've been through so much in my life. I have about 10% left of that battery before mental illness kicks in, before addiction happens, before complete defeat spiritually, physically, and internally happens. And it can kill you. It can cause you to commit suicide. It can cause you to self-abuse, indulge in alcohol, or other various things that are bad for you to numb the pain or to cope with the trauma. And you have to make sure that you don't reach anywhere lower than 10%, or else there is no coming back from that. And unfortunately, you've become permanently changed from that trauma. And I've witnessed it many times. I had a best friend named Anthony that completely lost his mind to mental illness because his battery got drained so bad in his life that, and he didn't have a moment of clarity to realize that this is a real thing, and you have to watch your battery charge, and you have to limit your consumption of trauma and self-abuse and things of that nature. So he didn't see the warning signs. He didn't pull out before it was too late. He didn't relocate. He didn't readjust. He didn't reassess like I did. He didn't have he didn't get away long enough to have a moment of clarity to see what was actually happening to him, and he transformed into that without even knowing it, and it became him, and now he is mentally ill. He doesn't remember me. He talks to himself in the corner. He was never a drug user. I don't know if he's using drugs now. I think he is. And it was because mental illness, mental health, and that battery that of trauma. So the reason why I still respond to my trauma is because I'm running on empty and have been for a very long time. And people don't understand why I say and do what I do, and I say what I say, or why I can't just let things go. Because if you've taken abuse and suffered injustice to the point where it's inhumane and your battery is gone and you got 10% left, it's now survival. Now it's a fight. It's a war. You want to take the last bit of 10% of my life that I have left, in clarity and mental stability left. You want to try to intercept that progression, or even, burden that and take away from me in that way, um, by making my life more difficult, or by trying to, or intervening in my life in any way that causes me grief, or causes me to have to respond in a negative way, or in my trauma. I want to be left alone, and that's why I became homeless for 15 years. I went through homelessness all my life. I wanted to get away from these abusers and all these people that I thought that I could trust, people that betrayed me, people that were close to me, loved ones, friends, best friends, professionals even, which is what I have started to witness in a professional world, in the political world, where you'd think that these people, considering their position and the professional setting that they're used to, you would imagine that they didn't have this type of a nature, but actually these people have more of this abusive nature towards people than the people off the street, because the people off the street actually experienced it so much that they want nothing to do with it, and they don't even have the energy to do it on other people. At least in my experience, and that's what I experience. I don't want trouble. I want to get away from it, but people force me by repetitively um, engaging with me in a way, directly or indirectly, that causes me to have to respond, because I can't let things slide anymore. I can't. I've taken too much abuse. I've kept my mouth shut for too long and stayed silent and watched injustice after injustice and corruption and fake people that, claim to be, concerned about you and your well-being, using that to their advantage to actually leverage themselves amongst other people in the community to make themselves look better, basically. It's almost like trying to add points to your rank, and that's how people do it, is in a professional world, in a professional way. And it's easy to exploit somebody like me that has bipolar and mental disorders and depression, and a history of crime and aggression and stuff like that. So they exploit that, right? I could basically confront somebody and just literally tell them how I feel without threatening them or being aggressive. And these people know that I have a history of that, so they will automatically be like, oh, this person threatened me. You know what I mean? Like, they know that my word is not as credible as theirs, because I'm somebody that comes from the street and has a history of that. Um, you know, um, so who am I? Just some homeless loser, junkie. Like, I don't even do drugs, but people say that about me too. So it's easy for somebody in a professional setting to discredit me, slander me, in a way that they're approaching it in a way that they are appearing to be concerned for my well-being, and they're concerned for me. But people exploit this approach as well. They take advantage of it, and I've witnessed it, and I can actually tell which approach is genuine and sincere and which approach is actually manipulative. And now I'm starting to really see it, without calling out anybody specific, just in general, generally speaking, I've witnessed it, and it's becoming quite apparent to me that I am playing and dabbling in a world of people that pretend to be or act professional, but really take advantage of their position over people that don't have as much credibility in the community or have a history like mine of homelessness and um, alcoholism, addiction, mental illness, stuff like that. So they'll use it against you. They know that they can just, pretend, oh, I'm concerned, but that doesn't work on somebody like me from the street. You know what I mean? Like we can see through that stuff, but other people in the professional world actually can't. So they will be like, oh well, I think he's concerned about you. I just think these people care about you, and this and this and that, which is one of the most disgusting things to me, to witness and experience, because these people are coming in as if they are concerned about me. So in the back of my head, I can tell that there's a hidden agenda and a narrative, and why it's happening the way it is, and why they're actually doing that, but playing the card of I'm just concerned, right? And I can tell the difference, right? And I know people that are actually that care about me and that give me advice and are truly concerned for my well-being because they believe in me and see my potential, and there's nothing better than that, to have people like that in your life. So it's very difficult to point out the wolf in sheep's clothing, and if you do, you can actually have a lot of backlash, and people might not believe you because this individual may portray themselves as a very, and they may be a good person, and they may do a lot of good. There's a lot of people that do a lot of good in the display of the community, and they may actually truly believe in what they're doing, but it doesn't mean that they don't manipulate and take advantage of their position and things of that nature, because it happens, and this is why I am the way I am. This is why once in a while I go on a rant. This is why I confront people in the way that I do. But see, if I even say anything to anybody, all of a sudden, you know, people can frame you. It's their word against you. You challenge somebody that doesn't have a criminal record, and they fear that you might expose them in their narrative because you have the intellectual capacity to do so. And they see that, well, that's scary for them because nobody's ever figured them out before, and they've never been embarrassed like that publicly, and they've never been exposed in that manner, without getting out of it somehow, you know. So if they feel threatened in that way, they will take advantage of their position and their, and leverage that against you in a very deceitful manner to try to discredit you or make you appear to be unstable or have done something wrong. Like, somebody could just say, he threatened me. They're going to look at my record and see that I have violent offenses when I was young at 18, 19 years old, and they're not going to investigate anything. They're going to look at that as my history and think that I'm repeating history, and they will just put me in jail, without an opportunity to defend myself, which I have experienced injustice like this in the injustice system before and advocated against it because I could see how the system was turning good people into criminals, criminalization. So people that don't have this history, criminal history, exploit this and take advantage of it in people, and it's scary. It's terrifying because if you tell the truth to somebody that isn't in that position above you, like I said, they can exploit that and they can have you removed or put in jail or slandered or discredited publicly, and their word and what the work that they've done in the community stands so strong and so tall that even if they're lying or they're not being honest in why they're doing that in that way, you lose regardless. They know that. They already know that. This wouldn't be the first time that they've done this and got someone out of the way. People do that, and that's terrifying. And could you imagine being me in that situation where I'm scared to even speak my mind and tell the truth to somebody or call somebody out or expose them in any way for the manipulative things that they do. I'm really good at identifying patterns like that. I study human psychology, and I spent 15 years in the streets, from Hamilton to Toronto to Peterborough to Kitchener, Waterloo to BC to Vancouver Island to the mainland. And I've witnessed and seen a lot of things, and I acquired a lot of wisdom and knowledge out of those experiences. And it's exhausting to have to go through this, or even talk about it. I wouldn't even be making this video if I didn't actually experience something where I felt the need to do so. Yeah, I get mad sometimes. I'm bipolar. I have a history of aggression, violent offenses, stealing cars, beanies. I'm not gonna lie. I will tell you that because I'm not afraid of your judgment, because I know who I am and how far I've come and who I've developed myself into. And I'm proud of myself. And, you know, I overcame a lot of things that should have completely destroyed me and killed me. And a lot of people didn't make it around me and went through the same things as me. It's very rare that people make it out of what I've been through without being completely either losing their mind to mental illness, addiction, or losing their freedom or their life, killing themselves. Like, it's, you know, so I put up a hell of a fight, and there's a reason for that, and it's because my battery's low, and I don't have the capacity anymore to allow you to infiltrate me or discredit me or slander me or misrepresent me or engage with me or anyone in my circle unnecessarily. You know, unfortunately, I've reached a point where I no longer accept defeat. So now I'm a fighter, I'm a warrior. Some of us are civilians, some of us are leaders, some of us are followers, some of us are fighters, some of us are, you know, it's fight or flight. I'm fight, I'm not flight. Because I've realized that flight is never going to do anything. You have to eventually fight, you have to eventually stand your ground. So before it was flight, and it was like, I don't want this, but if you corner me, I'm going to turn around and probably destroy you. So please don't do this to us. But people continuously do, because they think that they they think they're smarter than me. They think that their position over me is going to secure them. Like, I don't have many ways of defending myself intellectually or justly, just within the actions that I do and the lifestyle that I live and who I am as a person, my character, what I represent, my core values, principles, morals, stuff like that. It's not going to work on somebody like me, and many people have tried, so I kind of specialize in this area. I've been under attack many times for many, many years in my life. I grew up in a very, very bad city, Steel City, tatted to my wrist, and you know, and it was very aggressive in nature, and people were very. It's like being a fish in a shark tank. That's what it felt like. So I had to get pretty smart, and I had to stand my ground and fight. And then I took enough abuse and had many of these experiences to the point where I said, you know what? I stayed quiet for a long, long time. And I knew when to pick and choose, when to speak, when not to speak, when to fight, when not to fight. You don't take every fight. You got to be strategic. Well, guess what? This is my strategic, and this is my time to be challenging these things, even if my circumstances say otherwise right now. Because, like I said, this has been going on for a long time, and I'm the type of person that, you know, you're gonna have to really try. You're gonna have to go out of your way to provoke me, so you're already wrong. You're already out of pocket. And I'll make sure of it, because I'll wait even longer than when I want to say something. And I'll note everything that's happening and document everything. So that way, when I do address you or approach you, I got a book this big on you with all facts of actions that you did that were unjust and manipulative in nature. And I could break down how and everything. I could, to the science, to the math. I could use science too, and math, and psychology, and history, if you really want to get technical. But again, nobody has the energy for this stuff. People just want to live their lives, including me, with no problems and no trouble, just peace. But that does not happen in real life. So I stay on post, ready to fight, ready to defend, ready to expose if you engage with me, or anything that I touch or I'm affiliated with. That's my world. You're just in it, you know? So, where I come from, people don't do that stuff. We you know what I mean? We don't play that stuff, you know what I mean? People are pretty straightforward, and if you don't fuck with them, they probably won't fuck with you, you know? But in a societal world, or community-wise, or even in the professional world, or political world, or, you know, they play by a different set of rules that are built on a fake foundation. So they write their own rules, just like the law. You know, the law can do whatever it wants. I always say, why should I play by the rules when the people that created the rules aren't playing by their own rules? So you can't expect me to, you know, victimize myself unnecessarily, because the human nature is to survive and thrive and prosper. So that is my nature, and I've proven to do so in many circumstances that are very unnatural and harsh in nature. So, long story short, trauma, my battery's empty, I'm on edge, I'm on post, I'm ready to fight, I'm ready to defend, I'm ready to go to war. Why? Because if I don't, I'm gonna die. My mind, my soul, my spirit is gonna die, and it slowly is. You know, a lot of people remember me to be much different, full of life, full of color, full of like ambition. You know what I mean? I lost all that because life beat the shit out of me, and it ruined the glory of this beautiful life that I have. It took all the context out. It took everything beautiful out of it and made it plain and no longer satisfying. And that's unfortunate that happens to people, and it shouldn't, but it does. And I'm hanging on by a thread, fighting for my life, to stay here on this planet and have a purpose, and earn a living. And the system continues to try to squeeze me out, and people continue to try to make that difficult for me, in a very professional way, wolf in sheep's clothing type manner, smile on their face, but frenemy, right? So this is another reason why people isolate, that go through trauma and homelessness and through the injustice system, because it takes advantage of you, and this is the end result. So it's a corrupt, distorted, unfair, unjust world. And if you expect me to submit to it, or anybody that tries to challenge my integrity or anything to burden my life, I will fight to the death, in whichever way that looks. If it's professional, if it's in the street, physically going to war, if people are trying to attack me or harm me or get me harmed, or and I've been through that war. I've been through every type of war other than actual war, like military war. So spiritual warfare. There's many levels, but anyways, people want to know why I am the way I am, and I take a lot of heat, I take a lot of hate, take a lot of, people, I don't know, it's weird, but there's an invisible thing going on that is very difficult to identify with, and that's that battery. So unfortunately, I couldn't control the level, the amount of trauma that I took, the majority of it was out of my control, and then the other percentage was in my control as a result of my trauma. Um, the damage that was done emotionally, mentally, and spiritually, physically to me. Yeah. So I hope that kind of like clears some things up for people, and yeah, maybe people will understand. I'm a little tired today, that's why my energy's low. But again, right? All I want is a good life. You know what I mean? But I am a warrior. I am a fighter. I have a lot of trauma. I will, uh, how do you put this? I will go to war with you if you make me. And you're probably not going to be able to destroy me because I've lost employment for being real and saying real shit. I've lost my housing for not submitting and belittling myself to the point where I don't even know who I am anymore. So I eventually crack. I stand up for myself. I shut people down. I put them in their place, and it causes me, these people fuck with you, right? And then you fuck with me, for long enough, you're gonna fucking have a bad situation, and then these people just kick you out, call the cops, remove you, get you out of the way, fucking, take away shit that they can take away from you. And it still didn't destroy me. There's been people that have tried to kill me in multiple ways. People that have tried to ruin my life, ruin my credibility, my reputation, burden my ability to get out of homelessness systematically. People that even worked in income assistance and disability that falsely, suspended my income when I was on, for 6 months, and I appealed. I won the appeal. I got, and so they were wrong. So that's why I won the appeal, because they were wrong, but it still affected me, and it still really hurt me. So again, right? So people keep fucking with me, and if all is you have to do is just don't fuck with me, and then I won't have to respond. But you might question, like, well, you don't always have to respond, you don't always have to give people that, and you don't always have to stand. Well, you know what, when you only got 10% left and you've given all of that space that you have to give for that and that leniency, it's now survival. It's a fight. It's a fucking war. It's no longer debatable, and it's not a conversation. Don't fuck with me and I won't fuck with you. I am here to prevail and to prosper, and anything that burdens my ability to do so, I will destroy it in whichever way is most appropriate. And I'm fully capable, in any, to do that in any way. Whether that's, defending myself intellectually, making a video, fighting a corrupt case against me, going to trial with it, representing myself instead of getting a lawyer through legal aid, basically continuing to take the action that I take in my life, which will outweigh the stigmas and the, politics that are created around me and my name. People trying to, portray me to be some bad person or something because I express myself, and I treat people accordingly to how they treat me. And I also, when I see certain things, I call them out, because that's my duty. As my last name says, I'm a warrior, and that's what it means. And I'm Corey Resilient, and God chose me for this. So if nobody else is going to do it, I'm going to do it. And I might take a beating, and I might lose everything I have and everybody in my world, but I will know the truth in the end, and injustice will be, will be dealt with later, so